the old adage, it takes a village. Well, the people you're about to meet are taking it pretty literally on a commune where they share child rearing, housing, even their incomes. They can't have their own cars or a TV. So why is there a wait list to get in? Nightline co-anchor Byron Pitts headed to the property to find out how they make it all work.
A commune called Twin Oaks, where 92 adults, 13 kids live on 450 acres, giving up what many of us think of as the necessities of life. Television, bank accounts, high-paying jobs. For this simple life, living off this beautiful land, eating organic vegetables they grow themselves, sharing everything from clothes to housing to childcare, and sometimes changing their names. Do they know the secret to the good life?
I'm Keenan Dakota. I've lived at Twin Oaks for 32 years. This is my son, Rowan, who was born at Twin Oaks and has grown up here.
Before moving here, his name was Daniel Edward I Lost McGahee, a former student body president at George Mason University. He came to Twin Oaks to give a talk and never left.
My parents lived in Chicago, and they met in Chicago. My father was a football player, and he played for Notre Dame for 4 years. He tried out for various professional football teams, was briefly on the Green Bay Packers and got cut, and then went to work for a grocery store and got a letter in the mail from an organization that was similar to the State Department, which we now know was the CIA. So my dad was recruited by the CIA because they were looking for a lot of ex-football players because they had the right mentality to be in the CIA. We don't know what that mentality was, but football players apparently have it. My father was a gung-ho patriot and very happy to go work for the CIA. He was initially assigned to Japan, where my brother was born, and then went to Taiwan, where I was born. I was born in Taipei. And we would move every 2 years. So I spent 6 of my formative years in Thailand, and the rest of the time in Northern Virginia in Herndon. While there, I became a very involved student. As a sophomore, I was the elected sophomore senator and swiftly became chairperson of the Student Senate, and then after that became president of the student government. My interest was in being an entrepreneur. I was a business management major, and then I made the mistake of taking one of the electives called Popular Movements and Active Nonviolence, in which we had to do a little bit of field work. And one of the things was that I could do a tour of Twin Oaks community. And so my first reaction was like, as I was writing my papers, like there's got to be something wrong with this place that they're not showing me. Because on the face of it, it just looked pretty good. And at the time, I was sort of questioning my values. You know, my values were to run a business and make a lot of money. And at some point, I was like, what am I doing this for? The whole time I was studying economics and business theory and comparing that to the theory and life at Twin Oaks Community. And a lot of the economics theories were based on the idea of unlimited consumption and just treating people not as people but as units of consumption. And it was just off-putting to me. It came down to I would rather be part of the solution than part of the problem. And I saw living at Twin Oaks as being part of the solution. So after my 5th year, I had 2 more classes to take, an accounting class and an advanced business strategy class, in order to get my degree. But I visited Twin Oaks again that summer and then joined on July 10th in 1983 and never went back. I never actually got my degree from George Mason.
6 credits.
Yep, 6 credits. I'm 6 credits away from getting my degree. My family was not that supportive when I wanted to come to Twin Oaks. My parents, for years would say, if you need anything to get started, we can lend you money, get us a house or whatever you need, so they were supportive in that they were supporting me if I ever wanted to leave. So my father, in being in the CIA, spent his life and his career fighting communism. It is a little ironic that I have chosen in my adult life to move to a communal organization to be basically a supporter of communism and communal living. There was one person who said to me, "You have taken teenage rebellion to a whole different level." However, after leaving the CIA, my father became a very different person. He became much more warm, much more open, excellent grandfather, in a way that he was not necessarily as a father, and ultimately became very supportive of me living at Twin Oaks and felt that I was following along more in his footsteps. Not the footsteps he was making when I was a teenager, but the footsteps many years later. It's not as though people who live at Twin Oaks are all changed in the same direction. People get a chance to experiment with sort of their sense of self. And so a lot of people feel like when they come to Twin Oaks, not that they become cookie cutter Twin Oakers, but that people become more fully themselves. I think partly in growing up in Thailand and Taiwan and in the United States, it exposed me to different cultures. And so it made me see that there are lots of different ways that people choose to live together. And so if I'm going to make that choice, I want it to be a very conscious choice of how I'm going to live my life. And I want that life to be one that is in accord with my values. And the values that there are at Twin Oaks are very much in accord with my own personal values. Twin Oaks certainly is a place that has flaws, but I haven't found any place that's any better. A life advice for young people?
Yes.
Well, don't go into debt in order to go to college. You won't be able to pay it off when you get out and you'll be stuck on the treadmill. I think that most people would do better doing a gap year and going and volunteering and traveling and helping out people who are less well off and having a very clear sense of one's life before continuing on through college and focusing on getting a degree and going into debt for that if you're not sure what your career path is going to be. How about that?
Sounds good, sounds good. And then finally, anything that you would like to just personally say? Anything at all? Anything that you would want in this video, because this video is about you and
Right.
your life.
Go Patriots.